I wholeheartedly believe this. Like, Ouija boards are so scary. I had one experience that was so traumatizing. I will literally never touch it again. It happened years ago and I still think about it. Basically what happened is, I'm gonna literally talk super fast so I can get it all in one video, but basically one of my friends had a little get together like years ago. This was like 3 years ago. So basically had a little get together and it was a few of us, and we were talking about ghosts. There was a point where we were talking about ghosts. There was wine included, but I had like one glass of wine, okay? So I was not drunk, nothing like that. So I had one glass of wine. We were all sitting there talking about ghosts, like all that kind of stuff that girls do. And then she goes randomly, she goes, oh, hey, like I have a Ouija board in my closet. Like, who wants to do it with me? All of my other friends were like, absolutely not, absolutely not. And I have been raised with, you don't touch any of that stuff. I don't know what kind of stupidness took over me that night, but something took over me that I was like, oh my God, yeah, let's do it. So basically it was like me, her, and I think it was another friend. And I remember doing this thing and taking it very seriously. Like, I really wasn't taking it as a joke. And I told my friends, I was like, guys, like, don't be moving the thing to like try and be funny. Like, for real, for real. If it works, it works. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. So I know that there's a way that you're supposed to, you have to say hello and goodbye to it or whatever, because if you don't, you can like leave open doors to like things to like haunt you and stuff like that. So it's like super scary. So basically we did it for a while and honestly nothing happened. Like, nothing happened. No one was moving it. So I was kind of like, oh, whatever, like nothing occurred. So then we kind of like did it for a while, and since nothing was happening, we put it away. And honestly, I forgot about it. Like, it was like 3 hours later, we were hanging out. I completely forgot about it. I wasn't scared of anything because nothing weird happened when we were doing it. Okay, keep that in mind. So fast forward, it's like 3 a.m. It's time to go home. It's super late. And my friend is going to drive me home. So she's like, okay, like, let's like drive me home, whatever. Keep in mind, this is the friend that like plays everything down. Like, when something scary happens, she's like, Val, you're being dramatic. Like, I'm sure there's logical explanation for it, whatever. Anyway, so me and her driving on the way home, and we're blasting music. We're dancing. Sorry, we're not dancing. We're singing, blah, blah, blah. And we're on the way home. And I remember she was going to take this turn. There's 2 turns to go into my house. Okay. And both turns go straight to my house. So it doesn't matter what turn you take. Since both turns go to my house, it doesn't really matter. So she usually takes the first turn, but for some reason, something in me was like, don't take this one. I was like, don't take this turn, take the next one. And I remember she was like, why? Like, she looked at me, she's like, why? I'm like, she's like, it doesn't matter. They both go to your house. And I was like, I don't know, just take the next one. So anyways, so we're going straight, and we're about to take this turn. Keep in mind, it's just a long road and it's right on that empty field. So you have the empty field, the long road, and there's a mailbox, okay? So she's taking the turn and her lights are hitting the mailbox, and we both literally freeze. Like, we literally are just, we're not saying a thing. We're looking there. I kid you not. There is a little girl in a white dress. She looks, and when I tell this story, it sounds like I'm making this shit up. It was a little girl with a white dress. She looked sick. She had dark hair up to here. She was literally standing just at her car, like standing at, and I'm not kidding. Basically, like I said, we were turning in, and it's the long road that we're turning into. So we're turning this way into this long road. Then there's a big empty field here. It's dark. It has grass in it. And then there's a little wooden railing on it. Super easy to just put your foot over it and be on the other side of it. So as we're turning, her car, the music is still blasting because we're singing, we're going, whatever. When her car turns and it's kind of pointing at the mailbox, we see the figure, okay? The person, the little girl, whatever. We did not say a word, okay? We didn't say a word to each other. We were just like looking. And I remember the music was still going. I think I turned the music down as we were looking. We weren't like, oh my God, do you see that? But like, we were both seeing it. And my friend, I almost said her name. It doesn't matter. But my friend literally she stopped the car and we were just staring at it. And the light was hitting it directly. It was like at this point, it was like 3:30 in the morning. And I am not kidding. Like, the chill I felt all over my body and like the uneasiness that I felt was so scary. I remember being so scared that I actually felt like my eyes teared up from how scared I was, and I was just looking at it. And when you freeze, like, I look back at it and I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have like pulled my phone out, taken a video. Like, when I tell the story, people are like, well, why didn't you take a picture? Because when that happens in the moment, you literally freeze. Like, you don't know what to do. You're frozen. You're just like staring at this thing. You're like, what the hell is going on? So we were just like looking at it and we're like, what the hell? And so my friend, I'm like, drive. Like, we were literally looking at each other. And I remember, I think at one point she goes, what is that? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, and we just kept driving. And I will never forget this. This little girl had a white dress, like I said, dark black hair, like up to here. She didn't have a phone. She didn't have a purse. I cannot remember if she had shoes on or not. I literally can't remember. But I remember as the car was moving down, her head was like turning like this as it was going. Like, it was like, I'm telling you, it's like a scary movie. Like, when I'm telling you this, it sounds like I'm making this shit up. That's why when I've said it to people before, they're like, Oh my God. And I'm like, I swear to you. And thank God my friend was with me, because we talk about it still to this day. And we're like, what was that? And so basically, as we pass it, I still see it like going like this, and she keeps driving. As soon as we pass it, my friend hits the gas. We're going, and we're gonna turn into my house. And I look at the back, and I see it kind of like the heads turn like this, like looking at us. And I'm like, oh my God. And I remember making direct eye contact with it, because it was looking into, I was sitting on the passenger seat, so it was looking like this as we were passing by. So my friend drops me off. And as my friend, and one thing that I should mention is she was about like 10 years old-ish. And when I tell this story, like, even if people don't believe me, I know in my soul, like, what I saw had to do something with doing that Ouija board that night, because I've never in my life seen anything like that. So I think one of the most chilling things about seeing this little girl was when you see a person, and let's say they're looking straight at the road and a car is moving and they're looking at it, their body's kind of moving with the car, you know? And with this little girl, it was like her body was completely still, but the only thing moving was like very slowly her neck, as like it moved. Like she would literally make direct eye contact with you, and like it would move as the car went, which was so terrifying. So then my friend's about to drop me off at my house, and I obviously tell her to wait for me because I'm like super scared. So she waits for me. I get into my house, I get into my room, and I tell her, like, I text her, I'm like, you need to tell me as soon as you get home, like I want to make sure you're good, because she had to pass by that same road to go back to her house. Okay, so she didn't have to go through the same road, but she had to pass the field. So she was going to pass the field and see like where that little girl kind of was, but she wasn't going to pass directly in the road where it was beside her, but it was kind of be like further away, but she was still going to see it. So I was like, okay, please let me know when you're home. So I get into my room and I'm like waiting for her text. I'm super scared, and like I don't hear anything from her. And then I hear from her, and she's like, oh my God, Val, like she calls me. She's like, oh my God, like you won't believe what happened. I was like, oh my God, what happened? So she calls me and she tells me that she was driving past like the road, past the field, and she was obviously driving really slow to see if she could see the little girl. And she saw the little girl, but the little girl was facing in. So she was walking into the empty field, okay? There's nothing in this field. It's just grass. It's pitch black. It's like it's probably like 4 a.m. at this point. So like, why is she walking into the field? And my friend was driving really slow. And then apparently like the little girl stopped facing into the field, and my friend is like right here in the car, and she kind of looked over like this, and my friend said she literally felt goosebumps all over, and she hit the gas so fast. She drives to her house, and that's when she calls me and tells me this. Like, she clearly is so spooked out, and like I said, like she does not freak out about anything. She's always like the chill friend. Like, we knew something was wrong and this was not normal, especially like so obviously that like really spooks me. And I guess she gets home and she tells her parents, they call the cops, they go look, there's no little girl, they don't find anything. And I remember thinking in my soul, I was like, well, what if this was like a missing child? Like what if we just saw a missing kid, and I'm like making this whole thing up in my head about like what it was, but like we never saw a missing child sign, nothing like that. And like in my soul, I knew honestly just from seeing it, like it wasn't just like a little kid that was like missing at 3 a.m. wearing a white dress, looked like scary, like it just wasn't. And like I've taken that road all the time when I used to go to the bar, like all that stuff. Why would it happen to be hours before we did the Ouija board? Like, so then anyways, when that happens, I text my friend, the host of the house, and I go, oh my God, blank, guess what? I could have been telling her anything. And her response to me was, I don't want to know, don't tell me anything, I don't want to talk about it. So I didn't tell her anything, and that's kind of like a topic that like we just never discussed.
This is the story time of the time that I dated a good man. So at this point in my life, I was in a phase like I hate men, kind of just like the phase that I'm always in, like fuck these men, whatever. But one night I went out with my best friend, and we were at the club, and we met these two guys. It was like my friend was seeing this one guy, and then he had a friend, and then me and the friend just like vibed automatically. First of all, I met this man out when I was drunk at the club, so he saw a rare form of me, like a really rare form. I woke up to text messages from him that were like, yeah, last night you told me like buy me flowers, send them to my door, and take me to Gibson's Italia, bitch. And I was like, I said that to you? That is so, like, that is what I normally think, but the fact that I said that shit out loud is wild. It's like, you said to have flowers delivered to you. I'm like, this is embarrassing. I was like, I do not want to speak to this man. I'm done. I was like, I've literally made a fool out of myself. Like, babe, I'm good. I acted like a fucking cunt. No, thank you. Kept insisting on taking me out on a date, and I was like, no, like, honestly, I'm good. Because I was like, I fucking hate men. Here's where we get a little emo. Essay warning. I'm going to say essay a lot. A couple months prior, I had been violently essayed, and I honestly just felt like I would never be able to date again. I was like, there's no way I can even let anybody touch me again. And this was like the second time in my life that I had been essayed, so I was like really going through it, and I was still in my, what I like to call like my recovery journey from being essayed. So it is Essay Awareness Month, and I wanted to make a video about it, but I literally didn't know what to say. But I do feel like this is going to be a good video. Just wait till the end. If you've been essayed and you're going through it and you feel like there's no hope, you're never going to feel like whole again, and you just feel so hopeless right now, I'm telling you, I felt the exact same way, and it does get better. It does get easier. Just push through. So I had just been essayed, and my best friend, who was friends with the guy that was friends with the man that that wanted to take me on a date, she was like, no, you have to go on the date. I was like, dude, like, I really don't want to. And she's like, come on, Livy, it's been like 8 months. Like, let's get back out there. It's okay. She's like, we'll do a double date. And I'm like, okay, fine. I'll do a double date, but that's about it. Like, I'm not doing anything more. Okay, why am I getting emotional? I think like one of my best friend is like kind of like my guardian angel, because she like single-handedly really helped me through that time. And like without knowing it, her forcing me to go on this double date really just helped me a lot. It's like kind of how I fully healed from the essay. So we go on this date. Of course, this man and we have an amazing connection. We're hitting it off. We're having the time of our life. I don't even realize my fucking best friend is right next to me. And the man she's talking to, I'm like, fuck you, like whatever. So I go on the date. We have an amazing connection. All is well. And then we just started like hitting it off and started going on more dates. That's where I'm gonna get like so fucking TMI. I was absolutely petrified to have sex. I was like, and this man, literally godsend, just single-handedly helped me through that. He was like, no, I completely understand where you're coming from, all these things. And like, I was able to ride again. So he was a great guy, and we just like continued our thing where it was like we talked every day, we FaceTimed every day. We were basically a thing. I'm not gonna lie. We were a thing. We were seeing each other. He would take me on the most amazing dates. Like he took me to this like burlesque show, and like there was like a dinner there. He would come over all the time with dinner for me, and we would just like hang out and watch movies. But I remember after the first time I fucked him, we were in his bed and he just like ordered us food, and we were watching literally Fuckboy Island, and I was like, this man feels like my best friend, and I like just met him. Like it just feels so natural. Like this just feels so nice. Honestly, and I look back, I could have been a lot nicer to the man, but he understood that I was like, I hate men. He's like, yeah, you do, like assault. And I'm like, ah. He got it. He was very supportive. Honestly, like he is exactly what I needed to help me get through the essay. But you're probably like, Livy, all these amazing things happened. Like why aren't you dating this man? Why aren't you deep throating him right now? It's like, yes, he was an amazing man, and like he did all these amazing things and helped me through one of the most traumatic times of my life. I didn't fuck with him that heavy. No, I'm kidding. I knew I was going to be moving to New York, and I was like, I don't want anything serious. I can't do anything serious because I'm leaving soon. And he was like, I also don't want anything serious, but like I love what we're doing. And I'm like, yeah, no, this is like a vibe. Like this is fine. Until it wasn't. I felt like we had to go our separate ways because feelings were just going to get stronger and stronger, and we both didn't want anything serious. So I was like, well, what the fuck are we doing? Like, what are we doing? The reason I'm telling you guys this story is because I always get asked, like, do you ever like anyone? Like, do you ever like anyone? Because I do come on here and I do call all my ex-boyfriends fucking losers, because they were. I will never ever say anything negative about this man, because he helped me through one of the worst times of my life. Without even knowing it, he literally single-handedly helped me heal fully from my essay. Like that and a bunch of fucking therapy, but he really did help me. He was a great guy. Like he's an amazing man, and I'm still in like somewhat contact with him to this day. Like I'll randomly DM him and be like, I love you, and he's like, okay. But I don't regret letting him go. I think we both needed to be and go our separate ways. That man was exactly what I needed at that point in my life, and I am forever grateful for him. I will forever have the utmost respect and love for him. So no, bitches, I don't hate every man that I date or talk to. I really don't. I do think there's good men out there. But before you start shipping us in the comments, please don't. Please. Because I'm past that. And like it's been years, guys. It's been years. But I am forever grateful for him helping me heal my essay. It was exactly what I needed at that point in my life. And that's that. That is the story time of the good man that I dated. If you're going through anything essay related, just know you're not alone, and you will be okay, and you will make it through.
Am I the asshole for yelling at a woman after she wasn't behaving and making my job harder? I work in phlebotomy and I like my job despite some of the craziness that happens, like what I'm about to share. So it's pretty shocking and funny how many people say that they are terrified of needles. I mean, these include grown men, and whenever they come to the lab and I need to take their blood, they're always sweaty, shaky, some of them cry, feel faint, all over a little poke. These are adults. Shouldn't they have gotten over it by now? It can be pretty frustrating when some sit there and cry / overreact before / during / after the procedure, because it just makes my job a lot harder, especially during the aftermath of a pandemic. Plus, it is really annoying and I kind of just want to yell at them to grow the hell up, which is kind of what happened today. So this young woman came in and she was already teary-eyed. I mean, this was before I even asked her to confirm her name. She was sitting down, palms clammy, breathing weirdly, so already she's working herself up for no reason. I'm getting my supplies ready, and then she tells me that she's really scared of needles. And then she goes on and on about how she cries whenever she's near a needle, that she feels sick to her stomach, etc. I told her point blank that she's just working herself up over nothing and she needs to stop. Otherwise, it's going to make my job a lot harder. She begins to try and take deep breaths, but the tears are still flowing. Now she's starting to get on my nerves. Nonetheless, I begin to prep.
Oh, poor woman.
She then stops me and asks me to 1, give me a minute so that she can compose herself, 2, not show her any of my supplies / prep my equipment because that would supposedly make her more, quote, anxious.
It would.
The later was laughable because I have to have my supplies near me in order to draw blood in the first place. So I don't know where her brain came up with that. I had had enough. I looked at her and said, quote, look, are you going to behave yourself and let me do my job or not? If not, get out and stop wasting my time. She began to cry harder and said that she didn't mean to make me mad. She was just really terrified of needles.
Yes.
I told her, quote, yes, I heard you the first time. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? You're acting like a toddler. Then this woman says to me that the reason why she let me know that she was scared was because she wanted me to be gentle and comforting.
Yes.
My God, these people are so entitled.
Not entitled.
I asked her, quote, what do you think I am, your mother? My job isn't to coddle you and rock you to sleep. It's to take blood. If you can't act your age to even do that, then leave. She got up, still crying, had the audacity to call me sick, and then left. So I was on my lunch break, and then a coworker approached me and said that I treated that woman horribly.
Yes.
I told him that I was just trying to get my job done.
Nope.
He said that I shouldn't even be taking care of people if I'm going to, quote, act like this.
Yep.
And that I should pray that she doesn't file a complaint. What? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Wow. Okay. So let's see what Reddit thinks. Am I the asshole? This one does involve an attack, and it is titled, Struggling to Stay Faithful and Remain Attracted to My 34 Male, Wife, 28 Female, after we experienced a violent attack together. Not sure what to do. I can't talk to anyone about this, for obvious reasons. I even tried speaking to a therapist, and they made me feel so low, I haven't gone back since. My wife and I have been together for 6 years, married for 3. We currently have a bundle of joy on the way, and she's about 5 months along. My wife was always on the fence about kids, but I was adamant about wanting them. And now that it's becoming so real, I'm not sure anymore. I feel like I've just been on autopilot, and after spending this whole week buying baby stuff, I need to figure it out. Last year, my wife and I were at the park relaxing like we do almost every weekend, and someone yelled at us for speaking in my native language, Korean. My wife is trying to learn too because she's not Korean or Asian at all, but wants to only speak Korean at home to make sure our family is fully bilingual and they don't lose their culture. We were practicing out loud and sharing a snack, and this guy just walks up to us out of nowhere with wild, racist bullshit. He kicked our food, and there was some arguing, and while I was calling the police with my back turned, he tried to hit me with a pretty large rock. My wife jumped in between and ended up taking the full force of the hit, which literally busted her forehead open and knocked her out cold for almost a minute. I rushed my wife to the hospital, and the guy ran off and was eventually caught by police a few weeks later. My wife needed 14 stitches right across her face and had 2 black eyes and blood in them both. Her face was swollen beyond recognition for a few days too. And when she fell, she messed up an old knee injury too. So when she got out of the hospital the next day and a half, her face was covered in bandages and she was limping, but she was still cracking jokes in the ER. After the bandages and stitches came out, she was told she would need to wait at least a year before having her scar surgically fixed or whatever treatments. But now that the year has almost passed, I've started hinting at her scheduling appointments and such. This entire time, I've been struggling with remaining attracted to her despite it, but I didn't tell her since I didn't want to be cruel. She's now saying she doesn't think she wants to get anything done because she wants to save the money for the baby. I've offered to pay for half of it, and she still hasn't really looked into having anything done. I've also pushed back her meeting my parents again because of this. They live outside of our country, hence why they haven't met yet, and bringing her around my friends since it happened. Another part of me is also just sort of mad she even did it. I feel like half of a man now, and I've had to delete myself off of dating apps before making a mistake and been channeling it all at the gym, but every time I look at her, I'm reminded of all of those feelings. She hasn't changed a bit besides the scar. She's obviously handled it way better than I did, and somehow it's making me love her less. This, plus the pregnancy, I don't even know what to do. I thought about asking for a hall pass, but I know without a doubt she will leave me. I thought about taking care of my needs on the side so I can be the man she needs me to be, but I know she will eventually find out and she will hate me and make my life hell, or leave me a single father and I will never hear from her again. I just wish it had never happened, but I really need some other perspective or opinions on this.
When I was 24, I was dating this guy for maybe a little over a month. And then one weekend, he's like, I'm going to this music festival. And I was like, okay, have fun. And then the day before the music festival, my friend gets tickets. So now I'm going too. So I message him and I'm like, oh my God, I got tickets. I'm coming too. He doesn't respond. Like, that's weird, but whatever. I drive up there. I was meeting my friend there. And when I get there, I realized there's no cell phone service. So I'm like, oh, that's why he didn't respond to my text. Comedy that the relief of that trumped the fact that I could not get in touch with anyone when I got there and had to sleep in the trunk of my car with no blankets like a fucking rat. But anyway, next morning, wake up, all these messages went through in the middle of the night because I guess less people were using their phones. Anyway, I find my friend, go over there having coffee, and I see all my messages went through to him, but he still hasn't responded. I'm like, that's weird. Anyway, while we're having coffee, these two girls from another camp come over, and one of them starts telling my other friend about how she fucked the guy that I'm seeing the night before when I'm sleeping in my car like a rat. I'm just listening going, having a real-time panic attack because I'm like, what the fuck? Like, I literally saw this guy like Wednesday. It's Friday. But then other brain's like, okay, well, you're not exclusive. Maybe he came here. He didn't get your message. He got wasted last night and he fucked this chick. Big deal. Just a boy, he's spacey. Also, a side note is I only went to this thing because he was there. Like, I don't camp. I fucking hate that shit. I'm already there. So I carry on with my day. Wake up, get dressed. Midday, I'm in line for the porta potties. There's tens of thousands of people at this music festival. And he walks out of the porta potty I'm waiting for. He's like, hey, oh my God, I saw your message. Was this code switching? Like, he was so pumped to see me. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, I'm just gonna go to the bathroom. Where are you going now? He's like, oh, I'm going to see this band. I'm like, okay, I'll come with you. Because I want to see, like, how are you going to say no to me, man? Like, I know you're with this other girl this weekend. Unless you tell me right now, you have to let me come with you. And he did. He was like, okay, cool. Spend the whole night with this guy. We see like a bunch of different bands. He's not touching me. He's not holding my hand. Like, we've been dating for a month. Like, he's not even looking at me, basically. Not looking at the other girl either, but I'll tell you who the other girl was looking at. Me. I'm kind of looking at her. I'm like, sorry, I don't know. I've been dating this guy for a month. I don't know what the fuck's going on with you two, but like, this seems like his problem, honestly. I'll go back to his camp, which was really far from my camp. We're all having drinks and people are going to bed. It's 3 a.m, 4 a.m, whatever. This guy won't go to bed. And you know why? Because he knew I had to sleep in his tent and he can't go to bed with me and he can't go to bed with her in front of me. He's just opting to stay up till the sun comes up, I guess. So I just get in the tent. I'm like, fuck this. He eventually comes in the tent with me. Next morning, I just dip because I'd never slept in a tent before and I got my period. Anyway, he like ices me after that, whatever. A year later, we bump into each other and we end up going out for dinner. I'm like, by the way, I know you fucked that chick and then iced me. And he was like, oh my God. I'm telling this story because my whole feed right now is girls being like, guys aren't dumb. You're just getting manipulated. And I'm not saying this was manipulation. Like, guys know when they're being assholes. They're happy to be an asshole as long as they're not caught, right? Like the whole day he's like, oh, good to see. No, I saw your text. Like, yeah, that story's just to say if something seems off, it's probably off. Men aren't just stupid. They know when they're icing you, they know when they're playing you, and they know when to lie. Classic combination of them not wanting to look like assholes and you wanting to believe that they're not an asshole and just stupid. Like, I'm fucking camping for this man, getting my period in a tent. I'm waking up, it's 5,000 degrees in a tent in the morning. I had no idea. Ugh, never again.
I'm so happy that my ex-wife is miserable. 3 years ago I am 48, found out my wife, 46F, was having an affair. She met a guy at work and came home one day telling me she was in love with him, no longer loved me and wanted a divorce. This was a guy she'd only known for 3 months at the time. She and I had been together since we were in our 20s. We have 3 kids, M28, M26 and 23F. Well, I tried to fight for my marriage and didn't want a divorce, but she simply would not stop seeing this guy. After one weekend where she disappeared from Friday afternoon to Sunday night, I ended up throwing her out of the house. She immediately moved in with this guy. The only excuse she ever gave me was I never wanted to hurt you, but there's just something about this guy, and I deserve to be happy. That was it. That was the depth of her reasoning for throwing everything we built together away. We ended up finalizing our divorce in early 2022. Although I had very hard feelings toward her, I faked it enough to get pretty favorable divorce terms from her. It seems she was so eager to be with her dream man that she didn't have time for a long divorce. So in the end I got to keep my pension and the house, which I had bought from my grandmother. I did have to give her half of my 401k, however. The effect on our kids was pretty devastating. All 3 of them took it very hard. My oldest son told her that if she chose this man he'd never have a relationship with her again. As of right now neither of our sons has a relationship with their mother. Our daughter does talk to her from time to time but their relationship is very strained to say the least. My daughter is a very kind person and she tries but she usually ends her conversations with her mother even more upset than when they started. About 4 months after the divorce my ex contacted me out of the blue. She told me she had made a terrible mistake and asked if she could come home. He dream man turned out to be an alcoholic who she says is verbally abusive and wasted all of her money. I used this opportunity to tell her exactly what I thought of her as a person, a wife and a mother. I told her this was her life now and to deal with it. I told her she no longer had a home at this house and to never contact me again. Then a few things happened over the last year that have driven her to start trying to contact me again. First off, I met someone. My sister introduced me to a friend of hers who is also divorced and she and I hit it off. We've been seeing each other since last summer and while we've agreed that neither of us wants to get married again, we are together. Once my ex heard about this she once again tried to contact me but I ignored her. My son also got married and didn't invite his mother. She again contacted me to try to get me to intervene on her behalf. I told her I would talk to him but I never did. Secretly I feel like she deserves all the pain she's feeling when it comes to our kids. She destroyed our family without so much as an afterthought. Too bad, so sad. Now she recently told our daughter that she finally broke it off with the dream man because she could take his drinking and total lack of responsibility. He wasted her half of the 401k that I had to give her. He also totaled her car driving drunk. This from a man in his 40s. Again she knew this guy for 3 months and torpedoed our whole family for him. On the face of it I act like I feel sorry for her but inside I really delight in the fact that she's so unhappy. Call me evil or whatever I don't care. She brought this on herself and it serves her right. I actually had to sit there one Saturday night while she got ready for a date with this guy and laughed on the phone with her friend about how awkward our living situation was. I lived in hell for over a year because of her. Wait until she finds out our son and his wife are going to have a baby later this year. Maybe if she had been able to keep her legs closed she'd get to meet her grandchild. Enjoy your shitty 1-bedroom apartment and your broken down used car. Me and my new partner will think of you when we're on vacation in Hawaii this summer. Hawaii was the trip my ex and I always planned to take once our daughter finished college. Maybe I'll send her pictures.